right. I'm gonna. I just made this ship in Magicavoxel, and I'm gonna make another. All right. Oh, we got feedback. All right. So yeah, I just made this ship for a Discord challenge. Make a spaceship in 126 voxels square, which is, or it says 128, but the original Magicavoxel is 126. So I use 126 here. And to get the cool beveled effect, I use this marching cube setting. And it took about, I guess it took about an hour, hour and a half, and then it was all done. It was very fun to do, so I thought I would do another using it as a template for a video, just sort of show my process for making a model like this. I'm going to start from scratch with a new model. One thing I like to do is scale up. I start small. I make my initial sketch very low voxel. So in this case, it's going to be 30. And the whole thing is going to fit in there at first. Like the whole idea, the design. If I had a person in there, it might be just 2 voxels tall or something. And then the ship would fill up the rest. And I actually spend a few minutes just meditating on it. Like what kind of a story do I want? What kind of a ship do I want? You know, in this case, it's a ship. I know it's a ship. So is it a cargo ship, a speeder, a racer? Is it a little skiff? Yeah, what's the deal? What's the story with it? So it's worth taking a few minutes and really getting that down, get it in your mind, figure out where you want to go with it. Close your eyes, visualize it. So I'm going to do that right this minute. You visualize what kind of a ship you can picture if you're watching this. But what kind of a ship can you picture in this space, fitting in that space? All right. I have some kind of an idea. I think I'd like it to be like a science vessel. Like something that's just obviously a science vessel. Maybe lots of instrumentation on the top, kind of rectangular, some beveled edges. Let's see what I can. I'll start with mid-gray. I just want to start with a fresh color palette. This isn't the best for sci-fi. This is better for sci-fi stuff. This should be like a 2-person vessel, 3-person vessel. So maybe start with the right. Let's use orthographic while I'm designing. It lets you get a good angle on everything without being screwed with by perspective. I'm just starting with the neutral gray because I'm going to paint everything later after I figure everything out. So if this is a science vessel, it might have its bridge might be back here. Not up front. So many spaceships back here. All the labs and everything might be down below. One thing I'm going to do is, even at this small scale, this creates some extra work for me later, but there's a reason for it. I'm creating a bevel. Specifically on these shapes. Why? Because of this. I start getting those foundational bevels in there early. Something that might be kind of hard to envision later is in there early. Now, when I double that in size, it means I have to trim everything. That's okay. It's worth it just to see it early on and to get those fundamentally in the design. If that doesn't make sense, it's going to make more sense later. I don't know who's watching this, if anybody is, what point in voxel art development you might be, or even if you care, just watching it to see something cool. In which case, all right, I'm already liking the general shape of the ship. It's pretty rad. I think we could put some instruments on the bottom. Something really obvious, like a scanner device down there. Some windows, right? So do you see why I do it small first? Because we're not committed to anything. And we get an idea of what it's going to look like. Even at that early stage, you've got the basics of the ship are in there. It's a super good way to previs. Maybe this has a drone bay. Something for a smaller ship to sit in. And then we have labs back there. Smaller ship sits inside. Take off the symmetry for a second and do some devices up here. Just going to and what I'm going to do next is just preview it in marching cubes as it stands. It's great. Right? No, I mean, I'm not patting myself on the back. As a designer, I'm saying that that works in silhouette, in form and function. Like I can see this exact thing with more detail being cool as hell. The multiple views of it, front, back, top, it all looks cool. It reads as a ship. So when I get it to that point, I just scale it up, or double it. Right? So if I render it now, scaled up, it's kind of weird. It's kind of boxy because that bevel doesn't hold now. It's not just one smooth bevel. It's two bevels because we doubled the cubes. So you got this set and this set. It means we got to go back in. Let's change this real quick. So all that means is I need to edit all that. No problem, right? I'm just going to add a line. I'm going to turn on the mirror again. Add a line all the way down there. What does that look like? Smooth bevel. No problem, right? So we're going to go around and do that everywhere that we need to. This is the stage that I start. Start trimming stuff down, flattening it. That only needs to be that. This should be lower. Right? Just take advantage of that space. More open. I'm going to do 60 all around. We can just sort of enhance the detail on this thing a little bit. Trim this up, make this more substantial. Some chunk. I'm going to run that same line. Is this all making sense? As for this little guy, Let's just get him up off the ground. Give him some cool beveling. And you just start to think of everything in terms of how it's going to bevel, how it's going to be sleek. Like, to me, that marching cubes is, man, pretty much one of the most sci-fi looking things I've ever seen. It's just got this John Carpenter early 80s sci-fi vibe to it that's just unmatchable. So when you get proficient in modeling in that, I think it just opens up all kinds of cool stuff for design. I'm trying not to ramble, but it is something I'm pretty excited about. I've been doing voxels since 2014 I started, so that wasn't too long ago. Take off. So with all of this, I'm just refining. I'm thinking about how it's going to look with the marching cubes on it. I can always just check it out. Let's see. It's always previewing. It's pretty sick sci-fi shape. Knowing that we're going to double this again, I'm going to get one more level of detail on top of those shapes, but those major forms that I decided on are intact. That's what I love. It's just so cool that all your previous steps aren't wasted. It makes other kinds of art feel, feel kind of clunky, honestly, because you really often just waste a lot of steps when they go unnoticed in the end. And here it's all in there. It's all just imbued. For this one, I'm going to get rid of the ground because I just want to fly free. Oh, this is also a stage I look at it. Is there anything boring? And to me, the wings are a little bit boring right now. And I don't have much space to work with, but I can trim them up. I can give them a little angle. Just cut that off a little. I can put some thrusters in there. There's a line to erase here. I'll show you exactly. Okay, they look a little cooler. All right, it's almost like a submarine aesthetic. So why wouldn't they have their, okay, so how tall is a person? Yeah, so that's a good thing to do right now. It's like figure out how tall a person is. Oops. Is that a person size? No, person's much smaller. Person is, that. Like that. Yeah, like that. So he would have, we'd have 2 stories inside this space, able to get inside this in a seated position, kind of like a car, right? And then objects in the lab would fit all around. Yeah, that works. Person size. So one thing I can do is raise this a little. Right on 180, right on 0. And choose all of this and just lift it. Give myself a little more space to work with, make it a little more stretched out, give him some breathing room. If we had characters that were that size, just this little guy here, they'd have a little headroom, a little just breathing room in general. So these wings are not, they wouldn't really have thrusters on them, I don't think. They're for stabilization or looks at very best. So I'm just going to trim them off like that. These engines, they should actually come back further if I can do it. Yeah. If you hear me get distracted, it's because I have freaking flies. It's like every third day I get 100 flies in here. So I spray them with water. Yeah. I just got one. Feel good about that. This is another thing. At this point, I would probably use a circle to cut away into these. So they might not even survive to the final coefficient like that. So yeah, we'll see. I like the idea of having maybe a heat vent back here. First we'll get that. And this one. So none of those are forgotten. And then we'll have to do all that again twice as many times, I guess. Which is, again, no big deal on the final render. So let's look at that render. That's awesome. So cool. Yeah, that's what I want it to look like. Maybe fix up this bottom part a little. I'm using B and R. B is box, R is remove. So I'm grabbing boxes and just chunking it out and taking it out of there. Might also do that, just put a nice racing stripe kind of line there. And a counter up here, if that makes any sense. This is always experimental. I never know if it's going to work. think it does. I think it beefs it out a little bit. It makes it look a little more functional. Like if you had the opportunity for, say, an extra ton of storage by putting this on, wouldn't you do it? So let me try it with a bevel. I have to do a few layers to get a good bevel. I think at least 3 to make it look great. I wonder if I'm speaking in some cryptic language. That doesn't make sense. It's 3 bevels. Yeah, it's pretty chunky. I like that. That's for like, that's where the extra batteries are. Energy cells. Which means that, the engine room would be back in here in this chunk. They have a chunk for labs, chunk for a docking bay, engine room, and that brings us to up here. How does that work out? We've got a common area, berthing, maybe for 3 people of that size. Is that big enough? Yeah, probably 3 pods. But that means that we need more for the navigation. So build it on. If you live in there, yeah, you can walk around in there just fine. Well, it might be a little tight. He's 4 tall. Might be a little tight. But he could also scooch in and sit. Like maybe it's fine to just sit. So let's bring this up. At this scale, each voxel represents like almost a foot, like not quite a foot, but 3/4 of a foot or something. So it's a big change to add 1 voxel. It certainly makes the model look cooler to have that. And it seems like they would also have like almost a huge window in the back. Or 2. How does that work? Floor in between. Yeah, 2 windows. I want some kind of a heat dissipator back here. See how that looks. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I haven't gotten into any details like windows. Yeah, my internet connection's unstable. But maybe it's a cool contrast. Sort of have a little S curve going with everything. Yeah, I don't know. Does it need something else down there? Does it need like stabilizing fins? You can do stuff on a bevel. Let's try that. Let's just try some. I'm gonna build a couple of fins by attaching. Yeah, if it's too thick, you can pull it out using face. So how does it look? I don't want it that far back, I don't think. Maybe I do. Maybe I do. Maybe I do. It's cool. And it offsets it all. What if I take everything, move it forward? Let's move it back. Yeah, there's a coolness to that. It's a little support structure. Just be kind of agreeable there. Yeah, put this back there to keep things honest. And they might, you know, we got like a some kind of forward cutting antenna. Does it look weird? It doesn't. It looks like it's trying to. That's pretty cool. That's functional. Those things would break off. Part of me wants a. I want to lower this, that whole section. Basically there. To the squad bay doesn't need to be that big, and that's a long, boring space. And I can bevel it out nice. Oops. Yeah, that's much better. That is not better. I have to fix that. What's the deal? What happens? That's more acceptable. I accept that as agreeable. I accept it as agreeable, and I move on. That's what happens here. That's better. I add my own agreeable weight. That's better. All right. All right. It's still, that's a pretty dope ship, and it's within 60 voxels. So for the 128, 126, 128 challenge, you can get twice the resolution that I have here. Everything's nice and smooth right now. Nothing looking crappy. Maybe I'll just sort of cut in a nice shape. Some box and remove. Oops. Don't leave any 90-degree angles if I can avoid it. Let's see how. You have to remember in a game that these ships get seen from all angles. This thing, something like this, might end up being vast, just enormous. All right. I'm liking it. I'm thinking it's good to double one more time. Scale 2. Now. Okay. So all those places that we added voxels before, we're going to need to do it again or adjust so that shit don't look like shit. That's the roughest way I can put it. We're back to it being chunky, even though we had all that nice beveling going on. In a sense, we still do, because, you know, once again, all we need to do is add that line in there. And I like to kind of just start from the top. And go across everything and check it as I go. This may seem tedious, but all art is tedious. And to get this effect, this like I think of it as the perfect bevel effect. It takes time and patience to get to that. And that system of starting small, I don't think that I could start on this level, on this scale, on the 126 scale, and start building this voxel by voxel and come up with a design this cool. I don't think, I know my brain doesn't work like that. I don't really think most people's brain does. And I'm doing that same process again where I'm deciding on thicknesses. Like, this doesn't need to be too deep. It would never be. This each one of these would represent a whole floor of a room. So it would only be just a little bit indented for that window. And the same actually goes with that floor. It might be a little thick. I'm just going to allow that. It's a spaceship. Same treatment up here. I used to make the mistake of trying to fix these scale problems with removing voxels. For some reason, it didn't click at first that I needed to add them. So that should be clean. This could be, right? Yep. Sure is. Now I kind of like this. I like this secondary bevel, so I'm not going to do anything about it. I'm just going to trim that off. And trim that off. Let's see where that gets me. I don't like that step. I don't like that one either. What's up with that? What happens if I open it up anymore? That's kind of cool. Get a rail effect. Yeah, sometimes I try to just embrace some of the weirdnesses. It's kind of hard to fight it for too long. Like at what point is it a losing battle? Let's see how this looks too. Not too much Greeble, but some kind of, this is feeling a little bit boring to me. I feel like it needs great syrups. Race line across here, race line across here. Yeah. It helps to fix whatever was on my mind. Let's do this stuff too. That just looks like a freaking chair at this point. Let's build something out of that. You might need a device like that up on top of your ship. You might, you never know. It might be a support system for this whole thing, which is obviously necessary. Yeah. So anyway, that's some agreeable. I'm gonna add some over here. No. It's a platform. This be the top. Just breaks it up just a little bit. And so that principle, that same design thing that we've been doing the whole time is in play here, even at this stage. And if I doubled it again, it would be in play again at the next stage. So this is our person, right? Let's trim that up. About 3 wide. What is the yeah, that's our person. 3 people of that size could crew this ship, probably more. Yeah, I'd say. So these things don't really need to be changed. This needs to be. Maybe, yeah. Maybe we'll need this whole edge taken. I'm also thinking it might need kind of a side jaunt. So one side of this building. It would be augmented over there, right? Like a quick escape bay or like a Because this is more like a planetary explorer kind of a vessel that's going to be in here. This could be like a drone bay. It doubles as a crew escape hatch. With that. So does that process make sense that I'm talking about? General to specific. If you're always doing the same thing. There's no difference between these stages. So that's extra sick. Let's trim up these sides real quick and then test it. It gets to the point where it's kind of hard to run a line that long. And if you were just trying to do it at this scale, you'd be so bummed because it's just like, how do you even envision that at that scale? I know I can't do it. Don't even want to. I am not sure how this one's going to work. It's bolts. That's dope. You know, there's parts of this now that were not part of that first 30 voxel model. You just didn't, at that point, couldn't really picture that in there because you're working on other things. You're just working on, what am I even making? Sorry to go silent. I have to sort of think about that. I'm using face here to just pull it out. These are a little. No, I didn't do it on. I didn't do it on both sides. My God. Oh, how long did I miss? I missed a lot. All right. All right. That's all right. So now I should have it on just in case. Pay attention to when you have your mirroring on. Mm-hmm. How does that work? That's fine. And luckily, because it's a ship, it doesn't have to be 100% perfectly even on both sides. That's yeah, that's nonsense. This one I'm going to remove instead of adding to get that same bevel effect. As for the insides, it's just add it. So, using the system, you could, with a powerful enough computer, keep doubling and keep adding levels of detail, right? Forever. Down to the scary level. To where you couldn't distinguish it from reality, I think. Some of this stuff is kind of hard to see. It's in shadow. I guess I can turn it around. Or I can model on the side that's in white. Let's see. Mandible Bay. Almost to the back. The way I do that is I go too far. All right, we are on. Let's secure these. I'm kind of asking myself what they are. And I've decided that they're battery cells. Okay. That's our battery cells. Some of the warp drive is in these kind of channels here. These are batteries, almost like watch batteries. I think I'm going to make them 3 out and then bevel them because they need to be pretty substantial. You got a big ship to might even make it further out and bevel them. So if they're battery cells, screw it, chunk them up. Chunky. One more, and then bevel the outside. Another way to do this would be to make 1 and then multiply it, but that's not the system we're doing. We're sort of handcrafted it. And if you think this is tedious, wait till we start to paint. No, not mighty. Yeah, those are our batteries. So everything up top is looking pretty smooth. This kind of looks like us. Let's cut those. Probably. Yeah, this battery's nice and chunky. We fuel the ion drive. You know. All right, so how do we do this? We have our symmetry on. Are they too thick? Let's just do it this way. This will make a perfect smooth bevel. On the bottom, let's test it. Let's save this thing too. Okay, so we did that on the inside, right? Let's do the opposite out here and see how it works. Does that work out? We're gonna strip one off out here. And that way it doesn't get too crazy thick. And it doesn't get too skinny. Maybe keep it up there. Let's strip that. Yeah. Let's strip the front. Nice. Now that should look great, right? Yeah, look at that. Look at those fins. Oh, magnificent. Magnificent. Let's add some lights just so we can see them. Lights in there. One in there. Yeah. Yeah, it's starting to look like something. Starting to look like something. This is only, the ship is crazy detailed, and it's only 126. It's only 120 voxels wide, tall. And I really do think that that's the reason for it. It's starting small. Working your way up. I'm gonna have to just keep this one. Monochrome. I guess I've stopped talking. So, okay. Yeah, I'm thinking about doing this just in black and white, just because it's so spooky and creepy. But I'm gonna have to figure out um, exactly how to do that. Like with these. It's not being batteries, but they do look cool. Let's see how I'm gonna put some computers and gear and stuff on the inside. And also bring this guy. It wouldn't really be standing there. It would be standing there. Oh, I bought coffee today. Some computer panels in there. Some diagnostics for the ship. This does not need to be explained too much. It's just cool. Something must be done about this. Yeah. Those big chunks look terrible. They really start standing out. So it's easy to get ahead of myself and start focusing on details before I've done that whole job. That should be true there. Let's cut this in one. Oops. Let's cut that down. See both of those. Yeah, I like it. Is this too thick? This is resolved. Should be right. The chip is just hovering in there, but that's okay with me. Nope, I really don't think I care. This is boring. So that's less boring. This is the bevel, maybe. Let's see if I can. Make it a little more interesting. Maybe it opens up. All right, am I okay with that? Ship in there. Is it weird just floating? It seems like it's weird. It seems like it's not quite a ship. I need to lower it down and add some landing gear. All right, it's getting close to coffee time, y'all. So yeah, this is how I build a ship. This is how I go through these stages for almost every voxel model that I make. It's the same thing. It's one of those things that just seems like it's more tedious. And it's really not more tedious. It's great. It saves you time, and you come up with better designs. It's like a little planetary screw there. Let's do a kind of big. Yeah, it's a nice looking ship. I want to ride around in that thing. What's up, buddy? My cat's being patient with me. He knows there's chicken. And so as soon as this is rendered, I'm going to sign off. I'll take a minute to render. Not put you off through all that. But yeah. What's up, buddy? Huh? Mm.